The moment you feel the need to react to an insult, a mockery, a sign of disrespect, you have already lost. It's the deepest human instinct to defend one's honor, to retaliate against offense. You might think that responding makes you look stronger, that you are protecting your honor, but the grim truth is that all you're doing is proving that the insult worked. You just pulled your emotional leash out for everyone to see, exposing your weakness and letting others dictate your frame. There's an unspoken rule in every social interaction that few realize. Insults are not just expressions of anger or disrespect. They are cunning invitations for you to reveal your emotional leash, to demonstrate just how easily you can be pulled into someone else's frame. Machiavelli, a master of power and control, saw through what most people still fail to grasp. He knew that every insult is a probe, a brutal test of your self-mastery. This is how you can turn an insult into a tool, transform the attacker into a self-destroyer, and become an untouchable force. You may not realize it yet, but once you refuse to step into their emotional arena, power shifts. You won't just win the insult, you will render the insult itself meaningless, and the insulter, not you, will become smaller.
Let's decode the psychological mechanism behind every insult. Have you ever wondered why seemingly harmless words can make your blood boil? That's because insults are never just words. They are an escalation probe designed to force you to respond in one of three predictable ways. 1. Defend. You justify, explain, and unintentionally prove that the attacker's words carry weight. 2. Attack back. You retaliate, showing that you are emotionally invested, that you have emotional skin in this fight. Or 3. Laugh along. You play along, laugh it off, revealing that you'd rather blend in than confront directly. All of these are traps. They are like an invisible leash. The attacker throws it out, waiting for you to grab it and be pulled into their emotional playground. The moment you step into the insulter's emotional arena, you had already lost. Because now, you no longer control the frame. They know exactly where to press next. And worse, everyone else knows it too. But there's a fourth response, colder, quieter, more lethal. Machiavelli didn't give them reactions. He gave them a new frame. He knew that whoever controls the frame controls the narrative. And he never stepped into that emotional trap. He stood above it. He made silence heavier than any retaliation. He made stillness more threatening than any words. He didn't answer the insult, he redefined it. When someone mocked him, he didn't smirk. He didn't look away. He watched them quietly, intently, as if to say, I'm not offended, I'm calculating. And that is what shattered the room. Because no one fears a man who gets angry, but everyone fears the man who takes an insult and says nothing. Why? Because it means one thing. He's seen this before. And he's already decided what happens next. That is presence. That is control. And that is why insults stopped being fun when they were aimed at Machiavelli. Because the attacker didn't get a reaction. He got silence, followed by consequence delivered later, indirectly, and with surgical precision. Do you want to break someone psychologically? Don't react when they expect rage. Don't smile when they expect pain. Don't move at all. Make them uncomfortable with their own noise, because the moment they realize you don't flinch, their power evaporates. Their own noise becomes their shackles. That is just the beginning of a deeper display of power. Machiavelli didn't stop there. He understood that silence isn't just resistance, it's positioning. When an insult is hurled at you publicly and you remain still, something strange happens. The room begins to shift. Eyes turn. People wait. They expect an outburst, but it doesn't come. Instead, you look at the insulter as if they were beneath your focus, as if they just revealed their own fragility. And that's when the crowd begins to recalibrate their perception. Wait, why didn't he react? Does he know something we don't? Is the insult actually weak? Is the attacker the fool here? And just like that, you redirected social perception without lifting a finger. You're not seeking clarity. You are seeking power. In essence, you are turning the attacker into a fool in front of everyone. Because here's what most people don't understand. Insults only land when they hit something real within you. If someone calls you a coward and you are one, you flinch. If they call you weak and you secretly fear it, you react. If they mock your past and you have innate peace with it, you spiral. But if you've already faced your shadows, if you know your flaws and don't hide from them, then the insult becomes a boomerang. It hits nothing and returns to the hand that threw it. That's the Machiavelli advantage. Self-awareness so sharp it makes you uninsultable, because no one can use what you have already owned, what you have already mastered. No one can weaponize what you've already mastered. No one can destabilize a man who's already done the internal war. Have you ever felt unshaken against the bitterest words, simply because you know yourself so well? That is the feeling of true power. And this is the apex to Machiavellian ruthlessness. Machiavelli never just ended insult. Sometimes he provoked them. Why? Because he wanted to expose his enemies. He knew that the person who insults first is almost always revealing insecurity. So he created environments where people felt just comfortable enough to speak loosely, to reveal their true nature. He'd offer subtle comments that were just ambiguous enough to trigger a fragile ego. And once the insult came out, he had them, because now they revealed emotion. Now they showed where they could be broken. Now they couldn't take it back. This is the trap most people walk into. They insult to feel strong, but in the presence of someone who doesn't react, that strength collapses into embarrassment, because now everyone sees it. They lashed out to prove something and it failed miserably. It's a cruel perception twist. They thought they were dominating, but in fact, they were destroying themselves. Do you want to dismantle someone with high status? Let them insult you in front of others. Stay quiet. Look at them like they've just made a fatal mistake, and then move on without saying a word. The silence will follow them like a shadow. People will remember what you didn't do, and the absence of your response will speak louder than any comeback could. Machiavelli didn't win by overpowering. He won by watching others expose themselves and simply making sure the right people noticed. Because Machiavelli understood that true power isn't about winning a fight, but about reshaping the game. There's a reason Machiavelli never believed in clearing your name, because the moment you feel the need to defend your image, you already conceded that someone else owns it. That's what insults really are. Power probes. They're not thrown to defeat you, they're thrown to see if you'll defeat yourself. And that's the move most people make. They hear the insult and they immediately start explaining. That's not true. You misunderstood me. I didn't mean it like that. They think they're correct in perception, but all they're doing is placing their identity into the hands of the attacker. Now the insulter decides who you are, and you're stuck trying to negotiate your value back. Machiavelli would call this what it is, a trap for the weak. He didn't defend himself. He didn't explain. He didn't correct lies. He simply made the lie irrelevant. Because when you're at it, he remains untouched. People assume you know something they don't. And now they start questioning the insulter, not you. That's the reversal. Not by arguing, not by disproving, but by refusing to engage on their level. And this refusal, done with cold stillness, does more than silence the attacker. It turns the insult into a mirror. Because now everyone sees for what it was. Not a statement of truth, but a desperate grab for attention. A last-ditch effort to rattle someone who clearly cannot be rattled. And what's more threatening than that? So how do you turn these bullets of insult into valuable intelligence? Machiavelli didn't just neutralize insults. He knew how to use them. He saw insult as free intelligence. The moment someone insults you, especially in public, they're telling you three critical things. One, where their mind lived, because insults always reveal more about the speaker than the target. Two, what they envy, because no one attacks what they don't secretly notice, admire, or covet. And three, how they want others to perceive you, which means they've already accepted you as a threat. So when someone mocks your discipline, they're insecure about their own chaos. When they question your success, they're haunted by their failure. When they call you arrogant, it's because they've already compared themselves and lost. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He didn't just take the insult, he read it, and in reading it, he saw the exact weak point in the attacker's former. Most people respond to the insult, then ignore the message behind it. But a Machiavellian listens not for pain, but for leverage. The insult tells you where they bleed, where they're afraid, where they're watching you too closely. And now you know what never to say or what to say at the perfect time. That's not defense, that's positional warfare. You don't play the insult game. You let them reveal their openings while they think they've wounded you. It's a probe sent directly to you carrying a treasure map of your opponent's insecurities. But sometimes, even if you're well prepared, an insult can still land. Sometimes it's public, loud, unexpected, and for a second you flinch. Your face tightens, your body reacts. Everyone saw it. Now what? Machiavelli would tell you this. Don't try to recover. Don't try to make it better. Don't explain yourself. Do something much colder. Freeze the moment. Then absorb it fully. You stare at the attacker not with anger, but with blank awareness like you're watching a dog bark. No smile, no speech, no tension. Let everyone feel the silent strut. Let the discomfort fall on them. Because now the spotlight isn't on you. It's on how you're handling it. And when you don't break, something eerie happens. People get uncomfortable. Not for you, but for...
There comes a moment in every social interaction where power shifts, not because of what's said, but because of how someone handles being disrespected. Machiavelli knew this moment well. He didn't wait for insults to stop. He waited for the right insult to expose the balance of power. And when it came, he didn't react emotionally. He made it a public failure, not for himself, but for the one who dared to throw it. Let's break down exactly how that's done. When someone insults you, they are taking a risk. They are gambling on your insecurity. They are hoping to corner you, provoke you, fluster you. But if you've trained your inner world, if you've rehearsed stillness the way others rehearse comebacks, you'll do something they never expect. You'll make the room turn on them. Here's how. Let's say the insult comes mid-conversation, subtle, sarcastic, public. Most people either laugh awkwardly or fire back emotionally. But Machiavelli's method, he would let the insult sit in the air, untouched like a rotten fruit tossed on a marble floor. He would let the silence expand, let the insult hang unreceived. And then, with complete calm, he'd do one of three things. 1. Ask a sincere question, something like, "Is that how you see me?" Now the insulter is suddenly on the defensive. They have to own what they just said in front of everyone. Most won't. Most will retreat. No, I didn't mean it like that. I was just kidding. Relax. And that's when you already won. Because now they've shown the room. Their insult was cheap. Their dominance was performative. And your calmness forced them into disowning their own words. A man who backs down from his own statement has no credibility. And Machiavelli loved exposing that fracture. True. Repeat the insult, but flatly. No tone, no smile, no sarcasm. You think I'm a fraud. You believe I'm weak. You're saying I don't deserve respect. This isn't weakness, it's containment. You're showing that you heard it, but won't react the way they want. Now the room is uncomfortable, not because of you, but because you've made everyone look at the insult clearly. And most insults fall apart when examined slowly. They rely on tone, timing, crowd distraction, their ambushes. But when you slow them down, strip away the laugh track, and expose them to the silence, people realize, wait, that wasn't powerful. That was Betty. And again, now the attacker looks small, not because you humiliated them, but because you held a mirror and let the silence do the rest. Or 3, redirect the spotlight entirely. This is the most elite response. Let them insult you, then immediately pivot the conversation as if nothing of substance was said, not in a dismissive way, but with the smooth confidence of someone who didn't even notice the shot. Anyway, what I was saying, let's bring the focus back, right? So the point was, this tactic does one powerful thing. It publicly ranks the insult as irrelevant. The attacker gets ignored, the audience sees no flinch, and the narrative moves without them. Now they're stuck. Either they escalate and reveal desperation, or stay quiet and accept defeat. Either way, you win the frame. Because Machiavelli's unveil goal was never to win the insult. His goal was to remove its power from the room entirely. He didn't defend himself. He let the insult dissolve into silence and redirection until it no longer mattered. But sometimes the best way to destroy the insult is to validate it on your terms. This is the tactic of strategic ownership. Let them call you ruthless. You say, I prefer precise. They call you manipulative. You say people confuse discipline with control. They mock your past. You say, it built me. I left nothing go to waste. What does this do? It breaks their attack structure, because now their insult becomes a foundation, not a weapon. They wanted you to resist. Instead, you reframe. Now the insult becomes part of your legend. And anyone watching thinks, if that's what they're throwing at him and he doesn't budge, maybe it's true, and maybe that's why he's strong. This is where Machiavelli operated best, where insult becomes myth, where attack becomes signal, where the thing meant to shame you becomes the reason people respect you. They thought they could challenge you with mockery, but they realized you were not someone to mock. Let's talk about the long game. What happens after the insult? Most people move on emotionally, but not strategically. They think it's over. Machiavelli knew better, because even if the insult didn't land, it's still a signal. This person sees you as a threat. This person is building a negative narrative. This person is planting seeds of bad perception about you. So what do? You don't react then, but you remember everything. Their tone, their timing, their audience, their motive. And later, when it benefits you, not them, you act. You isolate them subtly. You block their influence silently. You speak to their allies with calm suspicion. You ask soft questions like, has he always been like that? I didn't expect that from him. You never frame them as an enemy. You just let others reach that conclusion for you. And soon, they're not insulting anymore. They're explaining. They're correcting. They're backtracking, because they realize the man they thought they could challenge with mockery was not someone to mock. You want to master insult control? Burn this into your mind. Never react when they expect it. Never defend when they attack your image. Never explain when they distort your words. And never joke when they test your strength. And never fight when silence will bury them deeper. Instead, let the insult reveal them, not you. Let your silence create confusion, not validation. Let your stillness become the story people tell after you leave, because the man who flinches becomes the target. But the man who absorbs and observes, he becomes the threat they can't quite figure out, the presence they can't diminish, the reputation that begins to grow without a single word of defense. Ultimately, power lies not in overpowering the attacker, but in rendering the attack meaningless, impotent. When you are silent by design, the room itself silences, and the one who insulted you begins to doubt themselves. You don't need to win, you just need to stand, an unshakable wall, a ghost they cannot touch. This is how Machiavelli built a reputation fortress, not because people feared his words, but because they feared his lack of reaction. Applause is fleeting, but the power of stillness echoes forever.